Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Litecoin Underground podcast. I don't know what this show is sometimes. I like to think it's educational. I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be interesting. I want it to be funny. But I don't really have a strategy going in. It's not like I created this and thought, I want to make a funny show or whatever. But I often tell you guys, like, these shows get a little weird. And actually what I did this week is I basically cut the episode in half, and you're going to have two halves from the same week because these conversations got weird and we got off track. And yes, the title of this episode is weird because, I don't know, we ended up talking about what did he call them? Non-corporeal beings, as in maybe non-bodied beings, I guess is what he's saying. You just have to listen to it. That's all I can tell you. But yeah, we go away from Gary Gensler to Michael Saylor to talking about aliens somehow. So I thought it was interesting. We even talked quite a bit about kind of automation and robotics and maybe what is the future of the economy and even, I guess, our existence and what's life going to be like in the next 10 to 20 years. So I don't know. We didn't talk too much about crypto, but I thought it was interesting. So I'm just going to keep putting these things out. If you like them, give me some feedback. I don't really see. I see some reviews. I mean, they're generally fairly positive. But if you want to make suggestions about the show, just in general, from DM me on Twitter. I'm always open to critiques, and if you want to hear more of certain things or hear less of others, let me know. So. Yeah, I got a couple from this, and then I've got another one you'll be having pretty quickly. So thanks for listening. It's been almost 2 full years. Oh, and of course, how can I forget Cake Wallet, the official wallet of the Litecoin Underground podcast. Always use Cake Wallet. Self-custody your coins. Don't be afraid to tool around with the wallet a bit. I mean, you can buy gift cards, you can swap in between coins, you can buy on the app. There's just a lot of cool stuff that they're doing. I think they're, again, bringing on some new assets soon. They got Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero, Ethereum is on there, and now I believe BCH is soon. I don't think it's here yet, but you'll see it soon. Anyway, they're always trying to add new things, and so that's always good. So enjoy the show, and have a good week.
We'll get back on track. So the Gensler testifying, Chase banning crypto in UK. Again, these are, to me, stories that I go, okay, whatever. I mean, they feel temporary. It might be choke point 2.0, 3.0, where this just gets to be harder and harder to operate. But I don't think they're ever going to stop it, right?
And I think it's really led by the Democrats. Sorry, but I really think it's because if you look at all the senators that were talking to Gary, it was really the Republicans mostly that were grilling him, and that was really empowering. I felt like these guys they were asking the good questions. They were putting pressure on him in the right ways, and make him look like a clown. Whereas you had Chuck Schumer, who's just such a donkey. Fuck, what an ass.
Well, that's their logo. Another big story is Saylor keeps buying more Bitcoin, and I'm starting to understand. I don't understand why. Do you guys understand why he keeps buying? I don't.
Yes, I completely get it.
Why?
Because he's the opposite of you when it comes to real estate. He had a company that was competing with Microsoft and Google and all the other companies like him, hundreds of them, had to close down. And he was at the end, and he's thinking, okay, what is an asset that I can buy that's undervalued and that has 100 years on it and no one appreciates the technology yet? What's the one sure thing? And as a company with hundreds of millions of dollars, that if he puts it in the bank becomes, less and less over time, he decided, I'm going to go with. He could have bought skyscrapers. He could have bought real estate. He could have bought land. There's tons of other things he could have bought. Bitcoin was the only thing that bailed him out, and now his company is doing great. Like, that's why wouldn't he buy more of that? Like, I don't. He has no other way out. He has to take that risk. I mean, that's coming from him. I'm just listening to what he's saying. Like, this is a guy with billions of dollars.
I love what he has to say. He does.
There's a guy with billions of dollars who's responsible for all the people in the company that are like, they're basically relying on him to keep the company going. And he's tried millions of dollars in advertising. He's tried reorganizing the company. He's tried acquiring other assets that would help them and like add on to the company, and none of it worked. And the only thing that worked at buying Bitcoin, why wouldn't he buy more? I don't get why he wouldn't. So far, it's bailed him out. I mean, unless you think there's some other thing he should be buying.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd rather see him, if he's interested in the success of Bitcoin, spending that money to, I don't know, help develop tools for people to own Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin. Take Bitcoin off of exchanges. Why doesn't he talk about that stuff? Because that actually would really benefit him if people actually started pulling their money off exchanges, right?
Because I think he operates within the business system, and I think, like Trump, he believes that like eventually things will evolve and Bitcoin is kind of the Trojan horse and everyone will be forced to use it. I don't know how true that future is, but he definitely believes in that. And it just kind of like how Trump believed like the whole doctor system was at least trying to help people. And let's just let this Anthony Fauci guy talk. Like, I think Saylor's still in that mode of operation of the world is a place with, schmucks and stuff, but, mostly like we got to operate within these systems. I mean, he's a billionaire. Come on. He thinks he's got billions in the pot of dollars of wealth. He has a business that runs in Silicon Valley. Like, he is obviously running on these rails. And so he thinks that, these rails will eventually turn towards Bitcoin. Like, he doesn't think it's going to be a derailment. He thinks it's just going to be adding an engine to the front of the cars. That's what he thinks is really going to happen. We think it's a derailment, but
we have the power. We can take our Bitcoin off, Litecoin off the exchanges, gold, silver, everything off. We have the power. We can do this. Everybody who's listening, we can do this. Take it off the exchanges. Take away their power. Take away their power.
I don't think Saylor's trying to do that. I don't think he really cares. He's all about making Bitcoin look like it fits into the system. That's what he does with Lightning. That's how he tackled the whole ESG thing. Instead of arguing against ESG, he basically adopted and tried to show that Bitcoin was the greenest technology. And so like that's his mode of adopting Bitcoin into the system, is by proving how it fulfills, or Bitcoin fixes this, I guess would be the statement that he would probably go by.
Right.
The only problem is he's so heavily invested that he's got a huge bias. And he sometimes neglects to mention some faults, and some things aren't perfect. And not to invalidate his investment or anything, but sometimes, I don't know, there are questions that arise and he fails to mention, Litecoin and MWeb, for example, as fungibility as being important.
Same problem with silver.
And he doesn't have a crystal ball either, right? So
I'm surprised he doesn't diversify into things like gold and silver, even at the very least. To say like to put all your eggs in one basket is, I mean,
I think he's been punished by diversification, right? Like maybe that's the lesson he's learned is, hey, I bought Facebook and Google and Amazon and all these things, and I could have just bought like one of them, the best one, it would have been fine. And I think he's learned that lesson over and over again,
I don't know. We'll find out.
I'm just saying from his point of view. I'm not saying I agree with everything he says, and
Yeah, fair enough. What do you mean I got a question. What do you mean when he says he's the opposite of me on real estate?
Basically, when for his latest purchases, basically he was saying you can buy real estate, but the biggest meme around real estate is once you've had it in your family for 100 years, the biggest trope is we're going to lose the family farm because we can't afford the taxes. And then it's this movie about like, what do we do to make the business so that we can keep the farm? So it's actually not an asset over a long period of time. It's actually a liability.
If you're looking at, if you look at, when I talk about homes, I think of like people owning their own homes. I'm not necessarily talking about buying a place that's intending to have it as an asset producing, or a income producing asset, right?
Well, he's saying
like a
if
farm is intended
you
to be an
can't
income
actually
producing
own
asset.
it, is what he's saying. They'll just take it from you because you
Well,
can't afford the tax.
But you got to live somewhere. Is the point?
Right. So
You
what
don't
will happen
either
is the
either
price
rent from a landlord and the government, or you rent from the government.
So the price will just appreciate and appreciate and appreciate. And if you aren't in a job position to pay the taxes on that appreciation, then they just take the land from you. That's what he's trying to say. It's not as hard of an asset. It's not the hardest asset.
No, I get
is
that.
what he
I
was
get that.
trying to say.
But for your average Joe, it's really bad advice, because people aren't sitting here with, tons of excess income every month. And so getting yourself into a fixed payment, even if it's 60 years, like up in Canada, they may be suboptimal, but in 20 years, it's going to be a great deal. You know what I mean?
No, even as a homeowner, you never want to own. You want to refinance at the lowest rates you possibly can. Like that's always what you want to do, because the value of the dollar is
I know, but
down.
you're looking at things from a perspective of an investor. I'm talking about people who are like, their number one thing is like security, and they can't take the risks that maybe you and I could take because maybe they don't have the excess income. The number one thing they should do is secure a home for themselves and their family. Period.
Yeah, but even now,
to the best of your ability.
Like, what if you were in a Canadian market? Would you buy it at these prices, or do you think that foreclosures are coming and maybe in a couple of years will be a better time to buy?
That I don't know, because I'll admit it's very expensive. But I still think even if you did that, like let's say right now you bought at high interest rates at a high price, like I bought a house in 2005 and it was like 120,000. These are when houses were normal. It was a small house. Great housing crash came. It was worth 60, and it's probably worth about 150 now. So it's now worth more than it was. But the point is, your payment stays the same. When you have a mortgage, your payment stays the same through all these ups and downs. Who cares about the market value of the house? That's meaningless. It means something for taxes. I will say that. But if the price goes down, who cares? As long as you can afford that monthly payment, that's what matters for 99% of homeowners, you guys.
So before colonization, we didn't believe in land ownership on this continent. There was no such thing as property rights. You could own what you could defend. That's like Bitcoin, right? You can own Bitcoin. Like I think Michael Saylor says Bitcoin's the only thing you really can truly own. And there's some truth to that. And I think, and this is just my opinion, is that we just abolish all property rights. They're the stupidest fucking rights that anybody ever came up with. They are man-made rights. They're not inherent rights, and they don't exist.
Are you a Native American?
Yeah, well, he comes in here every week. Animal, come on.
Are you? Because you said we, like, yo. So so yeah, I see where you're coming from, man. It's
First Nations are there.
Well, I'm an Indian, as defined by the Constitution, or Anishinaabe, as my people would call themselves. And Anishinaabe means human being, and we're all human beings, so we're all Anishinaabe.
Well, that's a very libertarian thing, right? Like property rights, or even intellectual property. I know that's a big.
Yeah, intellectual property rights have stifled innovation for years. I mean, think about like Tesla's patents and everything. For hundreds of years, it's been stifling innovation. And it's all about profit. It's the only thing it's about is profit. And
it's protectionism. It's protectionism. It's like protecting your idea so you can profit off of it for a set amount of time before someone else is allowed to use your idea. I mean, I don't know. But then the incentive to invent goes away if you're not allowed to actually profit off.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. Right. No, absolutely not. I invent things all the time, and I never ever profit from anything I invent. So,
not on purpose, just because.
I invent useless. I apparently invent useless stuff. So
I was just going to make a comment on Michael Saylor. Let's y'all believe in Santa Claus. I mean, really, this guy is telegraphing. This billionaire is telegraphing his moves. If this isn't something of I've never in my life been around a billionaire that is willing to help the regular people, man. And if you don't see this as for what it is, he's not here to help it. He's either has a purpose for it, or he's guiding the people, because Buffett doesn't tell us what he's doing till after it's done, and a lot of these big investors. So Michael Saylor's a fucking joke, dude. He lost a lot of fucking money in a lot of investments, and he was taken care of. I don't see the importance of Michael Saylor in any of this shit. I think he was a bad investor that's got taken care of because of the connections that he knows.
I've
personal
argued
opinion.
with some people like he's got you're running the risk that he's going to sell. I do think that's a very real risk. And a lot of Bitcoiners are like, no, he's never selling. It's like, well, you don't know that, right? Like something could happen that could cause him to sell. He could be, I don't know, unseated from his position, or who knows? Maybe he's got a kid that's a drug addict. You know,
yeah, can I just
never know what's going to happen, right? The future.
You guys remember? You remember John McAfee? And this guy, he had a certain type of energy too.
McAfee, yeah.
McAfee, which was authentic, right? And I mean, fucking guy, just as he was sunset, Saylor came around to pick up morale.
Do you think Saylor's a John McAfee type?
I think so. I think he's more composed, if you could say that. Saylor, but
could
yeah.
Saylor turn into Jack Dorsey and just like somehow have some sort of weird, go out and take a bunch of DMT trips and become a hippie and decide, I don't want to own anything anymore. You know what I mean?
No, I think he probably
Charlie Lee in that sense. Go, you know what? I realize this is money for the people. And why am I hoarding all this money? And I'm going to sell all but 100 Bitcoin. Why couldn't that happen?
You got Simpsons 3113. It's all about Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, specifically the chalkboard. You guys all seen the whiteboard with the things on it. Yeah, no, like the Simpsons is supposedly prophetic, and it has shown things before they actually happen in reality. I mean, that's pretty verifiable, I think, isn't it?
It's written by the Illuminati, bro. That's why.
Right. Exactly. So 3113 is a palindrome. 1331. 13. And then Charlie Lee makes his little post about the 13th of I can't remember, but it was his half birthday.
Yeah. October 13th, first ever episode of Litecoin Underground was in.
Okay, so
maybe I'm part of the Illuminati and I don't know it.
So you probably, I mean, that's very actually, that's probably a fact. You don't even know.
In the 10th year, on the 10th anniversary, on October 13th.
Most of their
10/13 was my first episode.
That's how it works. Most of their operatives aren't aware that they're actually operatives.
Oh, I'm an operative now. I'm part of the Illuminati.
Oh, man.
You cracked the code. Jesus.
I mean, just think about it. It's probably a CBDC disguised as a people's...
All right, it's too early for this. It's too early.
It's too early. I mean, I'm still going to believe in... I love it, but with a healthy amount of skepticism, because... and Satoshi Nakamoto actually translates to Central Intelligence, and I mean... It's just like if all this. Yeah, Google it.
I didn't know that. Well, yeah, Metakermit or whatever you're going by these days. Metafungible.
There is no second best.
What?
There is no second best.
There's no. I was like, who is this dude?
There is no second best.
I would just say that
he's on drugs. Are you gonna say that? I think he's on drugs.
And he said that before ordinals were a
always
thing too.
I've always respected his educational initiatives. The Saylor.org, I mean, literally is a free app for anybody, anywhere, to download and get access to college courses, right? And to, expand at your leisure. So, I don't know if the dude is, I totally am not on board with his philosophy as far as like the Bitcoin trajectory, right? Like he doesn't mention Whirlpool and privacy and things that I value, means of exchange, use case, but that doesn't, I don't necessarily see that as being a nefarious actor. I think that he's just in this kind of investor mindset, store of value ish perspective. But I don't think the guy is some I don't think he's a bad person. I mean, I think he is offering things for people that he doesn't have to. And education is probably one of the best things that you can offer. And I mean, it's.
I agree 100%. I like the guy. I'm not gonna say I don't like him. I think he's great.
Oh man, you're going far.
No, I do.
You think
I do,
I'm being a hater? You guys think I'm just being a hater?
He does get it, but like just like Elon, like man, he talks about Doge all the time. Never talks about Litecoin. What's up with that? It's fucking weird, man.
Well, they're invested.
It's really strange. But it's like, okay, so he's pushing it down. He's not, he's not mentioning it. I'm sure he's buying tons, right? Like he must be. But
say something.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Even if you were to look at like, I mean, gosh, Charlie of all people, I think he feels the number one thing is that Bitcoin survives. Bitcoin is the simplest thing to rally around because it ushers in the rest of these things. Which
it provides certainly a good
strategy,
an excellent foundation for like the space.
Look, you're breaking up, Rand.
I'm sorry. Anything better now?
Yeah, a little better. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If government suppresses it or people suppress Bitcoin instead of Bitcoin, they push it. That's what you want to get into. If the government suppresses gold, whatever they suppress, whatever the coin is, it's like Theta, Litecoin to push it down. That's what you want. Whatever they suppress, that's what you want. And you have to go with that. And Michael Saylor, yeah, he's solid. Doesn't matter if it's 60,000, 69, 12,000, 30,000. He knows the end game. And the end game is not the Federal Reserve and whatever it's attached to. Whoosh, man. I said I wouldn't talk
I feel like he's painting a target on his back. I feel like he's setting himself up to get wrecked.
Is that on purpose?
Or in a glorious way. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say there's some dramatic drop in price and whatever leverage, because he has some leverage. He's borrowed some money. He's apparently borrowed a lot of money at very low interest rates. What happens if those interest rates go away? And what is his buying doing to benefit the adoption of Bitcoin?
I mean,
that's what I don't understand.
Does it have to be? Does it have to be in that manner? I mean, or can it not just be like this is the wise thing? He feels like it's the wise thing to do for MicroStrategy and himself,
right? Which is what kind of Tyson was saying. Is he just naive? Like, is he just saying, look, strategically, this is the plan. I don't care about truly adopting it. This is just, I'm 60 years old, and who gives a shit what happens when I'm gone? Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's. I feel like I like Safe. I mean, I don't agree with everything, but they're like obviously like in tandem. right? I mean, and their perspectives is more long term, you know, versus like someone like me, which is more so of a like immediate use, right? Like I feel like that's the white paper usage is like means of exchange, peer to peer, right? But you know, I don't necessarily think that he's his mindset is, you know, just for his time here. I mean, it could be for his heirs, it could be for just the legacy. But he feels I can't speak for the dude. I ain't even gonna try, but you know, it would appear that, you know, he says, you know, hey, this is a hard asset, right? And overall, throughout time, you know, this is going to, you know, reap its benefits, right? So.
Well, but he clearly understands that marketing is a big part of this, right? If you look at like what he posts and what he talks about all the time, it's not like he's going, look, I just believe in it, I'm going to buy it and keep my mouth shut. He wants the price to pump. If he, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like price action is probably like it doesn't make sense at this juncture. You know, when you have this inflationary, this printing, right? Because it is still a risk on asset if you look at the you know, if you look at like the Wall Street types, okay, and you know, it's like trying to get trying to get the people to wrap their mind around like this is like risk off, right? Like, I mean, you know, this is to combat all of this frivolous bullshit, right? But the only time you see the price move is in you know, in loose monetary policy, right? You know, COVID, you know, puking money all over the place. You know, that's the big pump, right? But when times are hard, I mean, it doesn't quite, you know, reflect what we think, you know, and I think that's kind of like, you know, maybe that's part of the angle is to try to keep pounding that, like, you know, I mean, this should not be reacting. This should not be in lockstep with like, you know, the NASDAQ or, you know, other typical risk on, you know,
right. Regardless of price, I'm buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, well,
I'm not being influenced by the market price because when I have the dollars available, I'm allocating them to a better asset. Yeah, and maybe that's the message that he's trying to send. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, the guy's got massive. I mean, he's got to be some big ass balls, man. I mean, really, you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't give a fuck. He smashes buy, or like, I don't even think of it as buy. I think it's just you're converting fiat into Bitcoin, right? So, you know, he's doing it at a you know, a frenzy. And you know, the thing is it's I just hope that all the average folk, you know, along the way are trying to accumulate if it works within their world, their life, right? You know what I mean? Because you hate to see it get saturated into one, you know, one or a few hands, because that's never good, right? So,
yeah, well, I think that's maybe where, when I talk about going back to the housing thing, when I think about if people get into the mindset of like, well, I want to allocate everything I can to Bitcoin because there is no better asset. And like, you might be right in terms of, I don't know, financial return, or like technically, okay, I gained a little bit more on this, but like, there's more to life than just making the number go bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to eat, you got to breathe air, you got to like have a life, you have to have an existence. And so that's why I think you can't prioritize it over those things. And I think that's why that, and I'm not saying Saylor's like this, but it's just this weird mindset inside of crypto. I see Bitcoin specifically that, houses are a waste of your time. It's like, dude, that's just nonsense, man. You're distracting from reality. You're literally living in a fantasy world if you don't think people have to put a roof over their head.
Well, most billionaires think that way too. Most billionaires rented and built businesses. They didn't spend the beginning years of their life buying houses or doing any of that kind of stuff that we consider normal people to do. They took heavy risk, and they put all of their capital into things that you would call like a Bitcoin, but it was like a business venture or you know, whatever.
They're high risk, high reward people. But for every one of those, you know,
everyone wants to be that though. Anybody who's in crypto who's watching this stuff 100% wants to be one of those guys.
What? You think everybody wants to be a billionaire?
Okay. I mean,
I don't agree with that at all.
We had a show called that was one of the most popular shows ever called "Who Wants to Be a Billionaire." I mean, like
that was a trivia.
That's not the same
you're
thing.
lying. I think you're lying to yourself if you think that people really don't want to be rich. That's kind of a strange.
I don't think they want to be. I don't think that they want to live a high risk, high reward lifestyle. I think most people are like, dude, I don't mind going to do my. I mean, of course, win the lottery, great, but they're trying.
What happens when your government has inflated all your money away? You have no other options. You put money in the bank and it's gone at the end of every month. You went to school. You can't pay off your loans, and you have a job in the sciences or at an office, and you're supposed to be getting ahead, but you can't afford a car. Suddenly, moonshot sounds like a good idea, and I think that's exactly what's happening. Risk on is the only risk you can like. They risked everything else, though. And they got the middle finger.
You know, that's unfortunate because you know that puts people unfamiliar with the risk curve further out into the risk curve and taking substantial bets that when the shit doesn't work out, they're fucking eliminated, right?
Welcome to crypto.
Wall Street, Wall Street in its own right, you know, push it. I mean, look. The thing is the money sucks, and it pushes people further out to try to at least break even, right? For inflation and all this other bullshit, right? And people take speculative bets. They get into derivatives. You know, I mean, I've seen so many people get into options trading and just get demolished, right? And some people make money. I mean, this is obviously, you know, there's two sides of it. But the unfortunate part is that the money sucks and it incentivizes people to take risk, to take on additional debt that maybe they shouldn't or they wouldn't if you had sound money. So look, I just also want to comment on the house part. Like, I paid less on my mortgage today than I did renting. I can't believe I waited as long as I did to actually like purchase a house. I don't know why anyone would rather rent and pay, you know, the prices that they're charging.
It goes up every year. It goes up every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
My brother pays, I mean, he's living in Denver, which is nice, but he pays like a couple $1,000 a month for 750 square feet. And I pay like, I don't know, with taxes, I'm paying maybe $1,200 a month to have like an acre in a 1,600 foot house. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I remember thinking, you know, oh, you know, I've been here at this complex for X amount of years. I'm a good customer, you know, it's gonna be all good. Nah, man, they don't give a fuck, right? The price goes up. The price goes up, right? That shit don't matter. But
well, because they own the house. That's the thing that people don't get, or they should understand. That landlord, he's paying all the expenses that you would pay as a owner, and he's making some profit. And he's even making enough profit to run, you know, he's run the risk. He knows there's some damage. He knows there might be some litigation. There's people that don't pay, you know. So you're paying for all those bad actors when you're a renter. And yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. Crypto. What am I calling you? Tyson? I guess I'll call you Big Mike. Big Mike. Iron Mike. It's just you gotta put yourself in the position of like most working people. They expect to work. They go to their job. They can afford to pay a mortgage. They do borrow a lot of money, but to say to these people like buying a house is stupid. You should be buying crypto instead, like, or even Bitcoin, whatever. You don't know how long Bitcoin could sit here for 10 years. We have no idea what's going to happen with Bitcoin.
Still a better investment.
But I know, dude, You have to live somewhere.
Do you?
You have to pay. Well, if you want to have a normal life.
No, there's no normal life on the path to success. I don't think that none of these guys that are super successful
for you.
I listened to their life stories, and it sounds like they were dropped from a helicopter onto a game map and just started like wrecking house. Everything they talk about is like, oh, I was here and I just happened to meet this guy. Like, it's all happenstance, and you don't get those opportunities if you are living in a house in a suburb somewhere and you have a regular job. And I don't think most people in this space are like on that wavelength. And I mean, maybe you are. I'm definitely
I'm talking
not. I
in general. I'm not talking about maybe people in this space. But you're discounting the fact of like what people are capable of. Like, do you think every person in this world is capable of becoming a billionaire if the right circumstances are presented to themselves?
Yes, I think we're on the verge of it, actually.
Well, because the dollar is going to become nothing. Is that what you mean?
Well, that's one thing that's probably going to happen. Yeah, I know that's
have
a funny
you met
one,
most
right?
people?
No one has. No one has met most people.
I mean, dude, you go just look at your graduating class in high school. You're going to tell me the bottom 50% could become billionaires?
Yes.
How?
Because what's going to happen is
add a zero.
I think Saylor's right in that we're all going to own a piece of this digital thing that's going to empower the future, and 8 billion people are going to become rich overnight, and no one saw it coming. I know that sounds like crazy optimism.
Rich in what way? What do you mean?
How are you going to measure it? You're going to have access to the same thing billionaires do now, and it's not going to cost billions of dollars. It's just like how we live better than kings and queens did in the medieval times.
Who's going to make the things?
Why do you assume it's a who?
It's like in Star Trek, bro. They have achieved post scarcity.
I don't know. Somebody's got to grow the trees, you know.
Yeah,
the robots,
the environment will grow the trees. But what I'm trying to say is technology is accelerating so fast that the difference between like the Middle Ages and now is going to be the difference between like now and 20 years from now. Like it's going to be that much different, and no one's ready for it.
Okay, so let's say you're a person who went and made the decision to buy a house because you're apparently crazy and conservative. In 20 years, you're also going to be able to afford. In this fantasy world, you're telling that person, oh, yeah, you'll be a billionaire anyway. So you should take. Why bother investing in crypto if we're all going to be billionaires anyway?
Because crypto is the rails to onboard to that system. So do you want to be the last in line, or do you want to be the first one?
Well, what does it matter? You just said 8 billion people are all going to be billionaires. So what difference?
Right, but you're going to have more and less influence. Like, just because I can have access to a yacht any day of the week, it doesn't mean that like I'm the guy running the yacht business, or that I, am running some kind of space mining operation and selling,
How old are you, dude?
Why?
I'm just curious. How long you been around this mamma jamma?
I'm almost 40.
But so you've watched history unfold. You think that future is reality? You think we're getting closer to that today, or further from that? From like 1850 to today, are more people less dependent and sovereign and independently wealthy today, or back then?
You know what's fun to do is to like look at an exponential graph and then like zoom in really close and then just guess when you think that x squared is going to turn. Like, when it is, but when you zoom in really close and it looks like a flat line, you're like, I could scroll forever and this is just a stupid flat line. And then suddenly it turns. So we're at the turn. And what happens when it turns, it's basically a wall. You go from it's been like this for all of human history to it's never been the same every single year since the year that things started to turn. And I think we just reached that post Trump COVID, which is the AI thing started to happen, and the fusion thing started to happen, and like there's a ton of technological things that start to happen all at once that are just like, did you just see the other day where Tesla has a robot. They did not program it. They showed it videos. And it can sort by color with no color sorting algorithm, and it can operate fingers and move things like a human, and it doesn't have an algorithm that some genius wrote. It has a neural net that was taught by a video, and that's it.
Yeah, also, just to add to that, I just heard that ChatGPT can browse the web by itself or something along those lines. Like
it always could.
Okay.
The other thing is it can build the web by itself. That's another thing that, like, I'm seeing a ton of stuff happening that used to take 5 years is now taking a month. And everyone's acting like, oh, it's just a new normal thing. Oh, look, it's another cool video, because we're so addicted to, like, oh, what's the next video about? What's the next video about? What's the next video about? We don't realize it's been accelerating. I just spent 6 hours watching videos about this stupid thing. And it's like, that was normally the experience I would have in like a 2-year period just packed into a month. Like, I've looked at some videos on YouTube. Ever look at your history and go, oh, I thought I watched that, like, 5 years. No, it was a year ago. Oh, that's so old. How that wasn't a year ago. I watched that at least 3 years ago. It's because the experience of things happening is accelerating, and we're the frog slowly boiling in the pot, in my opinion. And we're gonna wake up one day and go, what the F happened? Of this entire linear plan I had for the future is not linear at all. We're all billionaires, and what the heck happened?
Hold on. I mean, wait, so we're all going to be billionaires because technological advancements?
Zeros.
Because you wouldn't want a human working in... It's going to get to a point where you wouldn't want a human working in a factory, because a human will screw it up and make a mistake and make the prices go up. You will expel all humans from jobs because they will screw up the jobs. That's the level of how good the AI is going to get in a very short period of time. It's the same thing with driving. Once insurance companies find out that having an AI means the car never crashes, but you still have to pay money for insurance, they're going to say, hey, we require this level of AI to get this price of insurance, and it's game over.
Yeah, I mean,
they won't let you drive anymore.
Who would want to? I mean, well, I wouldn't want that shit. I want to fucking drive a car, right?
And you will be one of those people that goes to a track and gets, checks in and gets. You're a daredevil guy, right? So you're going to be considered that. You're not actually. You're just a regular person that wants to drive, but like, you're going to be considered a person that has a hobby, and their hobby is operating motor vehicles. But for the majority of everyone in the world, they're just trying to get to A and B and watch Netflix in between. Like, that's what they're trying to do. And they're trying to pay as little money possible while doing it. And the only thing that provides that is going to be the AI.
So this is going to be basically a universal income, essentially.
You'll own nothing.
Right, you'll own nothing. So there is no income, right? I don't think income will be a thing anymore. Okay. You won't get paid to do something because there's nothing for you to do that adds value. All the value is either created by the AI, which is to sustain everybody, or there'll be like elitist groups of people, like think tanks, that think about stuff, and there'll be ideas that go up the chain, and somebody that can execute on that idea better than an AI, or we'll all be talking to AIs, and AIs will implement those things. But it will be more of a discussion and less of a job, kind of like what we're doing right now. Actually, this is kind of like meshing into that space. We're having space, like no one's getting paid right now, but we all do a ton of work thinking about this stuff and looking it up every day. Why?
Right. So how do, okay, somebody, I want to know who it is, keeps saying zeros, right? But so how do people acquire goods and services that cost, right? That have a capital cost?
I'll keep inventing useless stuff free of charge. Don't worry.
I'll buy it. Right. So on a large scale, you have the capital to pay for building this stuff at no charge of anybody else, right? You can spend that large amount of money.
I have a robot already. I already have a robot. I have a CNC machine that makes stuff for me. So I'm already halfway there. As soon as I have a Tesla bot, then I'll just make all kinds of stuff and just give it away and I mean, always. I just have my Tesla bot go out and get me some wood out of the woods and cut it into lumber and then build something.
Well, how does the Tesla bot, like, how does it
this
turn
is
on?
what you're,
How does
yeah,
it
dude, you're
activate
dealing with
itself?
the singularity. There's no way we can predict what it'll feel like day to day.
It's
I'll
gonna
have,
cause energy. It's gonna
you
be
ever hear of
energy.
a wood gasifier? So I'll have the Tesla bot loading a wood gasifier when it's not making stuff for me, and then it'll be generating electricity, powering my my generators. And when generators break down, I'll just have the Tesla bot fix the generator. I mean,
I
it's
worked
like,
at a company a couple years ago, and they sold a robot to package sponges. Right? It took 2 years for them to figure out how to pick up a sponge, because sponges are fucking difficult to pick up. Robots, dude, there are so many fucking jobs that robots cannot do, or that are not economically feasible to pay a robot or buy a robot to do. I've been in tons of factories.
My first job
For 11 years, I went in factories every fucking day. That's all I did. And you know what? They don't have a lot of robots unless you're doing super high volume shit. And if you're doing these, because you got people that, like, they're paying them X amount of dollars, and they might say, well, you're going to pack boxes, or you're going to, load the machine, or you're going to drive the forklift. You're going to do a wide variety of different things. The only way you'd get to pure robotics is if you have, like, literally one company does one thing, right? Like, every soda you buy is going to come from one company, and they can be so incredibly efficient at it that it makes sense. But
it's
dude, it's not reality, man. I'm telling you.
It's kind of startling, and I would say yes, that there will be, there will be improvements, right? But like, there was a factory I worked at that packaged like nuts and shit, right? Like, cashews and whatever. And these machines would basically, like, the nuts will go on a conveyor and they'll come out and they'll disperse them into the bags. I mean, it would blow your fucking mind how much product ended up on the floor because the motherfucking machine couldn't do its job right. I mean, like, yes, probably they do it faster. But if you have, some fucking, people that give, that have some type of work ethic, they're gonna waste less. I mean, there's trade-offs to this shit.
Well, just think about the Tesla. You never saw that car. That car wasn't a thing. Like, I don't, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I'd never see Teslas. I see them every single day now. Like, almost. I'll driving someone's parked or all over the place. It's like things are improving. I guess it's just a question of how long it's going to take. Like,
yeah, depending where you're at, though. I mean, you come out in St. Louis in the city or in like North County or some shit. Motherfuckers ain't driving no Teslas out here.
Well, no, and on top of that, you're talking about the finished product. You're not talking about the kids in cobalt mines. You know what I'm saying? You're not talking about all the plastic parts that go onto that car, the seats, the leather, the stitching, the freaking knobs. Everything has to come together, and not everything is like an assembly line. When you manufacture shit, it's putting shit together, but all that shit comes from somewhere.
Yeah, Elon Musk's very good at manufacturing, from my understanding. But
I mean, everybody. I mean, fuck, all these companies are incredible at it, but all those components come from these various places. Everything you buy is like that episode where in my podcast, I read the pencil one, just talking about making a pencil, how the wood comes from Brazil, the graphite comes from South Africa, the rubber comes from Taiwan or wherever the fuck. Like, this shit is, it's like, you don't understand how incredible it is, the things that get made. And to think we're just going to go, oh, we'll just make a gazillion fucking robots. Like, how many people work on the planet today? Probably 4 billion people go to work every day. And you think we're going to have 4 billion robots replicate what's going on between every meaningless job, like picking different fruits or whatever it might be? Like, people at work at different retail stores. Like, you're not going to make a robot to sit there for 6 hours or 12 hours a week, some part timer. Like, you're not getting rid of people. This
I mean, over time, I disagree.
Everybody.
I disagree.
We talked about this already. The government already did this. We already have technological unemployment. There's not very many people working in factories, and we're mostly in service jobs and government employment. That's it.
Maybe not here in the United States, but all your shit's made overseas. You understand? Like, everything, your car, it might say made in America. Everything in that car is made overseas. The raw materials are pulled out of the ground somewhere. They're turned into resins, and resins are put into a fucking box that somebody fucking made somewhere. That's got a bag liner that goes on a pallet. That goes into a container that goes on a ship that somebody fucking drives. I mean, you're talking about so many people are involved in a supply chain. And to think you're just going to, like, in 10 years, we're going to have 4 billion robots. Is that what you think?
Well, maybe a few million. What's going to happen?
Everybody gets a robot.
As there's more robots, the price of robots goes down, and all that has to happen is the price of the robot has to be less.
What are the resources? What comes out of the ground to make a robot?
Okay, so the price of a robot is going to go down because of mass production, because Elon's definitely great at mass production. That's how he did Tesla. He's the only one making margins. So you're saying all these people are doing so well at, they're not. He's the only one that's good at it.
Where are the batteries going to come from? How are we going to get that much cobalt and lithium?
We'll probably change up to something like aluminum. We'll probably go to space and grab a meteor, and that'll be good for another 100 years worth of lithium. So what's going to happen is, as you mass produce these things, they become cheaper, and they become cheaper to make. So it's an exponential curve, so it's not a straight line. And then also, all it has to do is be cheaper than 1 year of labor cost, and a company will go, I'll buy that. And so I've used to do factory automation. I know that whenever a machine breaks, they don't buy the new sensor. They just tell a worker to go stand there and push the thing over and risk their arm getting ripped off instead of replacing a sensor. I know I used to replace sensors. I used to program PLCs. I used to wire up drives and motors and conveyor belts. I know how factory automation works. I redid HMIs, and I did networking and all that stuff. And what it comes down to is, every time they do a renovation, a ton of people lose their jobs. And it's those renovations are going to start happening faster and faster as the technologies become. These guys that run these factories have these ideas in their head of, why can't it just do this like a person? And as soon as that thing comes out that can do that like a person, and it costs less than a year's wages and benefits to place a robot there that just is multi-purpose more than a sensor is, and that sensor's overpriced anyway, they can just ignore that thing, hire a robot, not really even hire it, they own it forever now, and they can train it to do a billion different things until they're done and they want to put that sensor back, or they want to change up the whole line. And then soon everything gets replaced by those things, and I just have a thing there that I pantomime to it, and it does the job I want it to do, versus having to hire an expert like me to come in and deal with all these rigid conveyor belts and all this rigid ladder programming in a PLC where I don't even know how it works, to I don't even have to hire this fool to come into my factory anymore. I can just order this robot and a ton of problems go away. Who's not going to buy? What factory is not going to buy into that?
Automation, I agree, obviously it's taken over a lot of stuff. I just think you're overstating how much it can do. That's what I believe. If you look at those videos, there are people that debunked Tesla's videos this week, but I do think we'll get there eventually.
Well, it's a good point on, like, the benefits part, because that's a big deterrent these days for companies hiring on employees versus, like, getting temp service, right? Temp workers or whatever, is that cost of insurance and other benefits. But I was going to say something else, slipped my mind. But yeah, that was a good point, though.
I want to know what Big Chief's meaningless invention is going to be. What's the next one?
What meaningless invention?
Yeah,
I'm gonna invent a piece of wood that'll hold my keyboard. I'm working on it right now.
It'll hold your
It's
keyboard.
It's going to give me a lot of utility. So
I want to know, would you guys get the Cybertruck? Like, does anyone have a reservation here?
I would love to have the Cybertruck. That'd be awesome.
Are you giving it to me?
Hey man, the state took my car.
No, that wasn't. I was just asking if anyone else has a reservation.
Oh, no. You have you could give me yours if you wanted to.
No. I'm just because because we're talking about this AI stuff, right? And robots doing all this shit, automation, right? And so I have a reservation for one of these Cybertrucks actually, and I've got the option for full self-driving. And so apparently, I don't know if this is true or maybe it's passed and it's no longer valid. But if you got the option with full self-driving, if you reserved it ahead of their subscription-based model, you would have full self-driving installed in the car without having to pay monthly for it. Which, if you think about it, like full self-driving in the future, even right now, it's super powerful. Like you could have cars that drive themselves. You can like do Uber with your car without even being in your car. You just have the thing running around town, picking up fares for you, and you collect the profit.
And you can also have governments shut your vehicle off if you're a bad
animal.
boy or
If you
girl.
collect the profit, animal, how is everybody going to become a billionaire?
Well, a billionaire. I mean, I never said billionaire.
I know. But that's my point. If there's always going to be somebody owning something, right? Somebody's going to own this factory and own this equipment. They're going to expect to be compensated for this stuff. So all of a sudden, it's not free, and it doesn't really make a difference.
Every refrigerator, microwave is going to earn crypto, and nothing free. Everything you have is going to earn crypto, and so let them take Uber.
How are you going to earn crypto?
Cryptos are going to be.
What if you use the car's cooling systems to cool off your crypto miners while you're mining crypto? Or what if you use like that super? What's it called? Fuck, they have that super oscillator. No, where do they have that pump?
Superchargers.
Your question.
No.
Hey, Rand. Hey, Rand. Hey, bud. I'm gonna mute you. You're really muffled. All I hear is like background noise. Sorry, man. I don't know if you got your hand over your mouth or you're covering the mic up or what, but get yourself in a better spot. All right, Animal, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hold on. There's a thing. It's an octavalve. An octavalve. Right. This thing in the cooling system of the Tesla. Have you heard about the octavalve? Basically, it's this crazy valve thing. I can post it up in the chat. But it regulates the system's cooling. So it's not just like it's the Tesla's cooling. It does the battery cooling, cabin cooling, whatever else cooling there might be, air conditioning and seats. I don't know, whatever. All the cooling systems are integrated with this octavalve. And if they can use that while the car is charging, for example, maybe it's a cool down crypto miners, for example, you could have a little container inside your Tesla that hosts a miner that might be modular that you can swap for like another miner down the road, a better one. But that uses the cooling system in the downtimes to efficiently cool to cool your crypto miners while you're charging up. Just a thought, like of things that might happen. What's possible with the
I think I'm gonna change this episode title to "Litecoin Underground Disagrees with Everybody." I feel like I want to argue with you guys on every point tonight. Look, this guy's trying to come back up. He's got me blocked. I can't believe he'd be so disrespectful. What's his name again? Serp. He's drunk. Should I bring him up, Big Chief, just for fun? Like 2 minutes or no?
Hey, Litecoin Underground, I have a question, man.
Yeah.
You didn't respond to my DMs about like how much crypto you think is like essentially like dead. I don't know if there's a term for it. Is there a term for that?
Oh, I don't know. What do you mean? Like how much crypto is dead? How many different coins are dead?
Like shit that's lost.
No.
Right?
Like, yeah, like not recoverable, lost without the chance of being recovered.
I have no idea. I know on Bitcoin there's a number everybody kind of adheres to. I would say if it's been gone longer than 6 or 7 years, you could probably feel pretty comfortable. If it hasn't moved in Or maybe if it hasn't moved in 10 years, you'd probably say it's probably gone.
Do you think that people are actually capable of self-sovereignty, like custodying their own whatever money or whatever?
Fuck
Yeah.
no. Fuck no. I know he didn't ask me. My bad. Sorry. I'm passionate about this though.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not convinced they are either, just to be honest. But I was just curious.
Yeah. So I've always argued, or at least stated my case, that this is not a mass adoptable technology. People do not want to take their own keys. They do not want to be their own bank. Convenience is the carrot, right? And that this is if this is something that people get, like the masses, it's not going to be the white paper, right? It will not be the white paper. It's going to be asking for permission to use a permissionless system, forfeiting your data, KYC up the fucking ass, right? I mean, this is not going to be the white paper ethos.
Do you think there's a possibility there could be like multi-sig systems that you are unknowingly like holding backup keys for other people in some kind of file sharing? I think Animals talk about like ZK rollups, right? Like you have some encrypted keys maybe you don't know you have, but they're a backup plan for somebody else.
Well, what good is that then? If you
kind of like the what, IPFS or whatever, right? Like maybe you're bought into a system, you're incentivized to hold the keys, but you don't know whose keys they are. You don't know what fragments you own, but they can be reassembled for people in some. I have no idea how this shit works. I'm just saying, like maybe there's a future where we could all rely on each other to hold fragments of each other's keys in some way.
I mean, look, gold and silver, right? The two of the most hardest assets and self-sovereign-ish assets that you can have out there. I mean, I don't know how many people you know that actually hold physical gold and silver, but I could probably count on one hand how many people I know. And maybe my demographic is a little different than other people, but I would say most people aren't like the top 1% type shit, right? So you have this has already been done. People aren't holding the vast majority of people aren't self-custodying precious metals, right? Which
Right.
for the longest has been the best opt-out tool from this financial.
Well, most people
clown.
don't self-custody anything. They don't self-custody cash. They don't self-custody stocks. You can't, I don't think, do stocks. Can't do gold. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I always have said that, I just, the actual sovereign aspect of this, right? Like literally the permissionless, the unalterable, nature of this blockchain.
Hold on. Can I just say, think about like how many people like lose their common stuff. I mean, maybe it's harder to lose a seed phrase than like the common things or whatever, but like people lose their phone all the time. People lose their keys. I mean, I guess it's probably more difficult to lose your seed phrase than that. But I mean, I don't know. I would be curious to know how much like Litecoin is gone forever, basically, due to just locked in somebody's wallet somewhere.
Right.
How much do you think?
No clue, man. I would look.
If you had to guess,
there's a chart on BitInfo charts that'll tell you how much hasn't moved in 9 years. I think that's the longest it'll go. So I don't know. Go check that out. Let's say, if it's 10%. Let's say it's 10%. There you go.
No way is it 10%. No way.
What? Dude, you're asking me for a random number. I don't know. You can't disagree with me.
It could be more than what we think. If those that got into it early when the price was, heavily suppressed or cheaper, and they were able to accumulate, but they didn't understand the gravity of the situation.
I think there's more Bitcoin as a percentage of the chain lost than there is Litecoin. Because when Litecoin came along, people did know that it had value. You know what I'm saying? So those people that were mining in the beginning were very aware, like, okay, there's a marketable value to Bitcoin. There's going to be so they were more conscious of that. Where maybe early Bitcoiners were a little less like, this thing has zero value. It had zero value for like 2 years, I think, right? Where there's essentially nothing going on, or maybe fractions of a penny, right? Before any exchange really opened up. Am I wrong in that? Anybody a historian here?
You're talking about Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a real market for about 18 months, wasn't there?
Suppression. They suppressed the things they don't want you to buy. That's Litecoin. Pennies, remember? Litecoin pennies? Oh, I said I wouldn't talk. Sorry.
It's all right. You're all right as long as I can hear you. Just there's times when I think you got the phone like in your collar or something. I can't hear you.
Not the collar.
How much Crown Royal did you drink tonight?
All of it.
What's that? Are those little bottles of Fifth? I don't. I've only had Crown Royal a few times.
It's handles, but I'm actually leaving.
Handle. Fucking hey, bro.
I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning, and I'm going to the Silver Symposium in Vegas. Anybody here? And they're going to be talking about silver and crypto and everything.
Carlos Estrada, the watches guy, is going to be there. Coin Vigilante's supposed to be there.
Good.
He's a Litecoiner. Yeah. I think he's got a booth or something.
I'm going to see Andy Sheckman. I'm going to see the Economic Ninja. I'm going to see the Uneducated Economist. And I'm bringing my own crown, trust me. But I'm going to be there. And man, I love
that. I thought you said you're going to be at the Sober Symposium tomorrow. You said silver.
Never said that. Just trust me. And actually, I'm taking empty flask, and they'll let me through, and I'll buy my crown there.
Genius.
Because you can't take a full flask on the flight; they just make you pour it out.
You just gotta fucking what parking lot pimp that shit before you go on and just smash it.
I'm leaving Sacramento, but I'm taking my son to the symposium, and we are doing $40 a piece for 3 days, and just renting scooters. It's only like 0.8 miles from where it is to my hotel. It's going to be so awesome.
Well, that's cool, man. Have fun.
And it's silver, it's crypto, it's real estate, it's stocks, junior miners, it's everything this weekend. It's crazy. I can't even believe my son is going with me. Oh, wait, I'm paying for it. Right.
That's what's up, man. You got to share the experience with us next time.
I have to.
Oh, sorry, man.
This is like going underground, right? Are you the host here?
Yeah. What's up, man?
I think I might just follow you. This was a random thing, and I think
you've been here before, man.
I think so.
You know what? I think I talked to you in Clint Westwood's thing maybe once.
I've been trying to get Clint to go to Vegas, and he's gotten to know his limitations. I know. Man. And he actually proved it right. I put so much pressure on him to go. I told him I had his ticket paid for. I put cigars up there, and he knew his limitations.
That's good. Well, hey, Crypto Tyson, I gotta say, Crypto Tyson here went to bat for Charlie Lee like hardcore this week, dude. What was up?
Oh my god! I don't know if I want to get into that. The Monero guys have been kind of,
you know what it feels like now.
Sketchy recently. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I like that community all that. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
No, it was very interesting to just see. Oh yeah, you based off some speculation with no one named, and Coinbase paying to make a regulator stop bothering them. It's Charlie. I'm like, what?
me give these guys the background. It was the whole thing with Coinbase with wash trading. What it was is I think it was Andrew Bailey, right? Originally posted something where it was Charles Hoskinson, Charlie Lee, and Safedine. And I think this was from like a couple years ago. We're on a panel together in Singapore for something, and everyone was talking about Safedine. Oh, why is he hanging out with those scammers, right? And this guy went off on Charlie being a scammer. And yeah, so you took his defense. So I just want to give some precursor to that. It was all based around the Coinbase thing, right?
I wasn't really defending him. I was okay. In a way, yes, I'm defending the idea of innocent until proven guilty. I understand he was trying to do like the whole, let me explain to you how the civil court system works. And if there's a preponderance of evidence, I'm like, you're supposed to be an anarchist, first of all. Why the heck are you telling me about like trusting the legal system to prove anything? And then second of all, they didn't name him. And all the evidence you presented about his tweets are all screenshots. They're real tweets, bro. Okay, cool, they're real. But the thing is, none of them said that he did any bot programming or wash trading. Well, he was in charge the whole time. It's nonsense projecting so that they could say Litecoin is a scam because this guy's a scammer, and you gotta know your history, bro. It's just nonsense.
A Monero guy.
A Bawdy anarchist or something like that. Look, I follow the guy. I like some of his takes, but he just argues with everyone, and so I took him on a little journey for a little bit. But then I was like, okay, this is boring. It was just after a while you realize that some people just they want you to just agree with their mindset. And all I was trying to say is, you don't really know if he's a scammer. You're kind of projecting like all this stuff. I'm just telling you facts. I'm like, okay, you're telling me a bunch of facts that are very circumstantial and don't actually like name him. So like, that's cool if you want to believe that, but like, I'd rather just not believe that he's never acted that way in any other capacity. So like, I just don't believe it. But like it's a belief. That's what it is.
Those people are the same folks that Charlie sold the top type folks. I mean, you can't even it just doesn't compute, right? I mean,
well, and they also asked that question, which was like, oh, why did he sell right after that and all that? And he's just dumped on all those guys. I'm like, I think what happened is, in my opinion, because you should be saying in your opinion instead of saying it's fact. I'm going to say in my opinion, even though I have the same facts. In my opinion, what happened was it made him sick to even be mixed up in it, and that he could possibly be accused of this stuff because he has all this Litecoin, and that's what caused him to sell. Being not guilty would also cause you to sell just as strongly as being guilty. Actually, if you were guilty of it and there was no repercussions, you might hang on to it because then you could do it again somewhere else. It doesn't make as much sense as they were trying to protect. Like, they're trying to say all these things line up and it makes sense that it points to him as a scammer. And it really, honestly, is, in my opinion, is 50-50. It could go either way. And he was trying to say it was like 95-5. So
can you interject? Here's where Litecoin is going to be so powerful that Charlie said, this is such a hot potato, he sold it all. And it'll be, Litecoin is the right coin. And he had a lot of it. Just sell it all right then and there, and it's not centralized. And that was a perfect thing for Charlie.
Well, when he announced it, he had been selling over the course of like the previous 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
So he was already done a couple weeks before he even announced it. And he also,
it wasn't selfish.
3 days before that, he said, hey guys, don't get fucking crazy. This is likely to go back to $20. I remember reading that, and then fuck, that guy was 100% right.
Super honest, not scammy at all, wanting to distance himself from the whole thing. And I get that when he sold it, looks suspicious, but I think that's the only time he could have really. He wanted to do it as quickly as possible.
Right? So when he announced it, you gotta remember, it's when he announced it. Go look back at when he sold. He sold like October, November, December. He made like 3 measured sells. He didn't he didn't just go, holy fuck, it's $400. I'm dumping my entire stack. He'd already made this plan ahead of time. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Vitalik sells Ethereum every once in a while to keep the Ethereum Foundation going. I'm pretty sure, and a ton of people jump on that and say what a scammer he is too. So there's always going to be people like that, they connect all the dots. They got the conspiracy board, and they know 100% everybody's motivations. And maybe he's right. I'm not saying that he's 100%. There's a possibility that Charlie's not. I'm just saying, why do you have to present it that way when you don't have definite proof? There's no reason to behave that way. But
yeah, I'm still in the mindset that even if he did that, I don't understand what that has to do with anything. It's not like it doesn't change the protocol. He didn't have coins ahead of time, right? He didn't have undue he didn't pre-mine. He's an actor in the space. If you want to say, okay, he's maybe let's go, he's a scammer, whatever. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that Litecoin is this protocol that runs relentlessly, right?
If Charlie Lee is a scammer, Justin Sun is 2,000 times the scammer he is, and Tron is doing just fine. I don't understand why don't have way stronger scammers up on the thing and just be like that guy's why are we looking at Charlie Lee like the most quiet, soft-spoken dude and
because I need Charlie in a Gucci. I need Charlie in a Gucci tracksuit.
Right, he's talking like it's Richard Hart up there or something. I don't.
That would be so funny. We should get a bounty together to put Charlie in a Gucci tracksuit and pose in front of a Lamborghini just for the lulls, as they say.
You know what I just forget?
Can you imagine Charlie in a fucking tracksuit? That'd be so fucking great.
Hey, I always forget to ask people. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I always forget to ask people, or at least think to myself, who hurt this anarchist guy? Because he's obviously super hurt by people that made a lot of money off of crypto or something. You know, that's obviously the motivation. At the time, I'm thinking there has to be a lot. He's got to follow the logic and just at least admit he just doesn't know. He couldn't do it. He had to hold on to it. So I'm wondering, there's got to be something where he got hurt somehow through some kind of scam, and now everything he looks at is that guy made money on crypto. He's fucking scammer. You know, just I don't know.
Well, he's a founder. People look at, first of all, founder. That's the number one thing, which I think Charlie probably should stop calling himself the creator or the founder, because that has negative connotation. But something you said a couple weeks ago was really interesting to me. We were talking about kind of taxation and looking at how the state has us looking at each other as the enemies, right? We're suspicious of our neighbors as opposed to suspicious of them, I think you said, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I was telling that to my dad this week, and this is a good example of that. What the fuck, bro? Are you really coming at Litecoiners? You're gonna spend your energy bothering to fuck with Litecoin or whatever it might be, or Dogecoin? I always take these certain chains where I'm like, these are so harmless. These are not your enemies, dude. These are not the people to spend your energy fighting. And it's just those ticky-tack arguments are where I start to zone out, and I've lost so much interest in some of these crypto things. And I do it too, man. I perpetuate with my nitpicking the Lightning Network or people like Michael Saylor, when in reality it's fuck. Is that guy ultimately is pretty harmless, you know what I'm saying?
It usually starts off for me as a funny idea in my head. I read something and it sparks a funny idea, and I'm like, let me just comment this funny thing, and they are completely opposed to it. And I'm like, well, no, I'm just trying to say, and then it turns into me trying to justify, and then turns into them getting mad, and then I'm like, why are you so mad? And yeah, I just got to end it with, oh God, and just not respond, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to do sometimes.
It's very hard to just not get upset at these people. I actually quit Facebook for 2 years, and I was going back today and looking at old Facebook posts, and I was pretty proud of myself. I used to get into some political stuff, and I kind of would like to on here sometimes, but I just feel like it's not worth the energy. One I was really proud of was when all the statues were getting taken down, and I was like, man, those pyramids are going to be a real bitch to take down. I thought that was hilarious because pyramids were built by slaves and everything. But anyway,
you mean aliens?
Slaves.
Yeah, aliens.
Dude, now you're gonna bring it back. Now you're robots and aliens. You're living.
I'm sorry about
you
that.
watch
That's
a
what
lot of sci-fi.
I love
Is that what it
sci-fi.
is?
Sci-fi's my favorite. How do you think I have all these crazy ideas? They're not mine.
Bro.
Maybe aliens had robots. That's probably what it was. Aliens had already figured out robots. They traveled multi-dimensionally because that's the only way to logically get here, and then built the pyramids for no particular reason. Right where there happened to be a lot of people. Right?
Humans from the future, man, not aliens.
Like Terminators and shit came back in time.
If you build it, they will come.
Absolutely. If you build it, they will come.
I think non-corporeal beings, they didn't have bodies. They intermingled with the hosts of life that were here and created humans out of other things, and then they were trying to get gold for some reason, and Earth has gold on it, and if you look at all the religions, they're like beware of like the temptations of the flesh, because they could actually download their brains into flesh, and it's kind of like an experience that you don't get being like in the non-corporeal form. And so there's like this in my opinion, I think that's a cool story to go off of. I'm not saying it's true or something. I'm just
at least you prefaced it with "in my opinion."
Like, in my mind, that's a cool idea. Like, that's a cool ass idea. And then they came here and they had these crazy bodies with like, and they had all crazy sex with each other and shit. And they're like, oh damn, we forgot what it's like to have bodies. And they're like, no, half of us, we got to leave. And then the other guys were like, no, I'm screwing this bird bitch, you know. And that's Isis and all the Egyptian gods and stuff. It's all that, and we make it sound like this legendary thing, but it could have just been non-corporeal technology where they knew how to do like genetic engineering and download their brains into different bodies and shit, and then it got fucked up and most of them left, and then we're the orgy that was left over from that, basically, and that's the pyramids, but who knows. I just think that's an interesting story because I think it all gets fucked up if you do that. So
I gotta say, I always laugh at how these spaces take some weird turns, but you're on the top. You're at the top of the list of some of the weirdest turns this is taken.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man!